Well, for more on America's democracy-spreading programs, I'm now joined by Jeff Friesen. He's an independent researcher and historian in the US. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Well, the US says it's helping democratic opposition movements abroad. But the question is, who decides who is democratic and who gets that aid?
Well, it's not about democracy at all. I mean, there's one thing that I've learned is that the United States foreign policy has to do with power and power alone. The idea that somehow there's benevolency, that there's a caring grandfather figure here in the United States who wants to help foreign countries become better is a joke. And I think that if you have this idea that there's something positive coming with these democratic regime changes, that's not true at all.
So therefore explain what they hope to get in return for this.
What they hope to get in return is to establish a greater empire. I think, I'm not being overly cynical at all when I say that there's nothing but military power and force at work here. And if they don't like somebody in a particular country, then they're going to get rid of them one way or the other. And this is just a new technique of how to do it. The idea of bombing somebody into submission is kind of old hat these days. The new idea is to say, hey, guess what? It's Christmas, and we're going to give you a great big present. It's called democracy. But in fact, the leaders that they put in are corrupt, and they have only one thing in mind, and that is to kowtow to U.S. interests.
Well, we just saw in that report from Ghana Chichikan that the U.S. state is openly recruiting activists in Cuba. Where are the other likely targets then?
Well, Syria right now is on the hot burner. And, there's a Russian naval base there, and that makes that a real interesting situation for the entire planet, because here we have a direct conflict between the two superpowers. Obviously, Iran is the key. They tried to do what they called a color revolution a couple years back in Iran during the election process there and failed to do so. It was called the Green Revolution. And my gosh, I think that if they can take over Iran, I think the whole ballgame is going to be changing. So, I mean, if you have Syria and Iran both Shiite as a bloc, and they're looking to break that apart and create a new Middle East, or as Israel likes to say, a greater Middle East. But, a greater Israel.
But let's just, looking from an historic perspective, don't past attempts to spread democracy in parts of the world suggest future success is very likely with this initiative?
I'd have to agree with you. I think that the gullibility of the population is extreme. There's no doubt that people have good intentions. There's no doubt that they want things to be more democratic. But what they don't realize is that the IMF is going to come in and restructure their economy to suit the World Bank and the ministers of finance. And this is not something that they understand, and it's not their fault. And so as long as the United States can continue to sell a feel-good idea without any real substance, then I think people are going to continue to fall for it. And that's a shame, because we're certainly hoping that the people get something real, get something that actually will change their lives for the better, and not just fall for what we would call an advertising slogan, like we did here in the United States, where we got Obama and things got worse. Hope and change, right? There's your slogan. So as long as people will fall for slogans and slick, quote-unquote, democracy campaigns, then I think the success will continue. And I'm afraid for people in different countries, because they need to know what's really going on.
Jeff Friesen, thanks very much indeed for sharing us your thoughts on this. Independent researcher and historian in the US, joining us live there in his webcam in Portland in the USA. Thank you.